few days back in with the lads training, been on the travels. Glad to be back home, I would imagine.
Well, obviously you're glad to be back home if you're going to get a result, and then it will be nice to be back home. But when you've had a couple of games away from home, you're always then looking at your home games to try and, pick up the points and get the wins that we need to get safe. And like I say, you'd always prefer to be at home rather than away. What
satisfied you from your 2 away games? I know you haven't got the wins, but what has satisfied you?
I think both games we've deserved to win. So you could argue that both, certainly in the Grimsby game and then for large periods of Barnet game, we were the better team. So I think that's encouraging. We'd obviously have liked to have won both games, that goes without saying. But I was suitably encouraged by the two performances to show that we can pick up points in the remaining games of the season. I think we've probably passed the ball better in the last couple of games, and we need to continue that in tomorrow's game.
What's been the sort of planning from after Barnet, of course, when it was Tuesday night, towards now your final training session? What do you go through? What have you done with your squad this morning?
I think at this stage of the season, you're into March, so the fitness side of it, you're not going to be working on fitness in March. I think it's a case of giving players rest. And also, you've got to speak to the players, you've got to get a feedback from them, find out how they're feeling, if they need to do any more, if they need to do certain things. But I think you've got to trust on the players that they're being honest with you. So we've had a couple of journeys, but they've had time to rest this week. And I'm not expecting any problems going into the next 2 games in terms of fitness. And the games are so vital that that shouldn't be a problem at all.
And just in the terms of the injury problems, you had a couple of injuries in midweek, but fingers crossed, by the time you come at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, you might have a little bit more strength and depth to choose from. Hopefully they're going to come through.
Well, I think Kyle Hawkins did well in the Grimsby game, but he was injured, so that gave Charlie Raglan a chance, and I thought he came through the game well. So that gives us more competition in that area. And then you had Joe Davis, who's been playing, came off injured, but obviously he doesn't want to lose his place, and he's desperate to play again tomorrow, so I don't anticipate any problems with his fitness. He's had a couple of days on the treatment table, so I'd like to think we're going into Saturday's game with, apart from the 2 players who've had operations, with everybody else available.
Straight on the front foot, as you say, you're the home side. Nice to be back at home. Be positive and go out there and try and take the game away from Stevenage.
I think it would be justified in to criticise the fact that I don't think in the last few home games we've created enough chances. We haven't worked the opposition goalkeeper enough, and we're going to have to do that more over the remaining games if we're going to win games. I think we've been okay, but to win games I think we need to make more chances, and we certainly need to be on the front foot for longer periods in the game. Do you think
they've been playing a little bit too safe then? Do you think that could have got into the mind?
I think there's a lack of confidence, and I think when you know that the result is so important, I think it'd be human nature to not want to make a mistake. But I think we've got to try and forget about what's at stake and try and play a little bit more naturally. And certainly when you look through the team that's playing, there's certainly more footballers in that team than there is players who can just go route one, and they've got to get on the ball and they've got to be brave, and we've got to try and obviously pass the ball probably more than we've done in recent games at home.
Well, you've waited too long to get the 3 points. You've also must be pleased that you are becoming a hard team to beat, because you've drawn quite a lot of games, so the opposition hasn't got the better of you.
No, I mean, it's obviously it preys on your mind when you're not winning games, and there's no substitute for winning games, but we can be heartened by the fact that we've drawn quite a few, and other than the Cheltenham game I think we've lost the other games by the odd goal, so we've proved that we're more than a match for everybody else, but we've got to start turning some of these draws into victories.
What's your SP and reports coming back on Stevenage?
Well, I've obviously watched the last game against Crewe, watched some previous games, but I think it's always what you do yourself, and we obviously need to start the game better than we did the other night, because to concede after 3 minutes, I wouldn't know all the stats, but it's probably the earliest we've conceded since we've been here, and that's certainly not a good way to start games. We need to make sure we're tighter at the back, and then we need to have a impetus going forward.